Good day, everyone. And I'm with, again, Mohamed Es Fih. We've already done podcasts, as we already know, with him, giving us a great insight into his life, into his struggles and how he's got to be successful to today. But what we're going to do, we're doing another session here because he's one interesting man, and we want to talk about technology and faith, religion, that type of thing going together. And I must admit, I did think to myself, what is that all about? It doesn't make sense. So, Mohamed, it's nice to have you back. Just do a brief explanation of what we're going to talk about, and then we'll take it from there.
Sure, Eli, it's always a pleasure to be with you. And sorry for last time we together went, how you say in English, off the path or off the
We
bush.
did, yeah, totally. But very easy to do. Very easy to do.
Very easy and also very appreciable and interesting. So this conjuncture of spirituality and technology, I started to notice it when we had the first wireless mobile phones. If you remember, I think it was in the late 90s.
I wasn't born then, so I wouldn't know about that. I'm quite young.
Which year you're born?
Much
later. So I think the mobile phones started to reach the consumer level.
Yes.
They were used by the military and industrial level.
Yeah.
But if I remember, at least in France, which usually we are a couple of years behind the US.
Okay.
It came late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay.
Before that, we had the normal telephone, but then it was all wired through copper lines. And you know my story, that I had some spiritual experiences, and then I saw that actually there is no time and space, and everything happens at the same time, and never. And
yeah,
so all these things. Yeah, I had those things, and then when one day I was just looking at my phone, I had a huge Nokia phone. It was like this size.
What size? Are we talking the brick size?
It was the brick size. It was literally a brick. It was almost like 1 kilo. It was like 800 grams with a huge antenna. So I had that because I was the nature of the work I was doing. I was traveling a lot, so I invested in that mobile phone. So when I had that machine in my hand the first time, and then I could talk to my mother instantly to tell her I'm going to be late or something as I was traveling. Then I thought, hey, this is exactly how it works in the realm. But now in real life, I have a gadget, and we as humans, we have a common knowledge that says that you are able to talk to another human, although there is time and space. Sorry, although there is space between you, but you're on the same time.
Okay.
You can bridge that space because there is something called wireless communication.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah. So then I realized that it's actually technology is just helping us to explain in our human condition and human brain why things that otherwise we would call magical are actually can happen in real without us losing our sense of of being sane.
I get that. Yeah.
Yeah. So wireless communication is one. It was the first technology that I could match to what happens without technology in the realm of spirituality and beyond the immediate reality. So that was the first one. Then I had so that's where I started to connect technology to spiritual realm.
Okay, I see
because
that.
Because then there was a passage in the Quran and in the Bible in the Old Testament.
Okay.
That is about King Solomon.
All right, break that down for us.
Yeah. So King Solomon was according to the biblical tradition, was probably one of the most powerful kings and prophets on earth in terms of wisdom, but also in terms of technology. Because even in the Bible, it says that at that time already he had the palace made of glass, transparent glass, which at that time would have been a fantastic technology.
Yeah.
And there was this passage that I remember where, at least in the Arabic or Muslim narrative, there is a specific passage about Solomon, and I think it's in the Bible as well, that he was made aware of a powerful queen, the Queen of Sheba in Ethiopia, in what is today Ethiopia. He was made aware of a powerful queen that was not yet recognizing the creator of the universe. So in the religious books, to explain that how he was made aware of that, there is the allegory of a crow. A crow, the bird.
Okay. A crow.
Yeah. So the crow. And also in the Islamic tradition, you can also find that he was informed by a jinn. You familiar with the concept of the jinn?
No.
It is in Dunes, in the movie Dunes. So
Okay.
the jinn is another kind that is sentient like the humans.
Okay.
That was created before the humans, but is a form of energy being.
Wow.
They evolve in this is like in the Quran in Islam. It's very straightforward that humans are not the only sentients.
Okay.
So there are two, at least in this realm, there are two sentient beings according to the tradition of Abrahamic religions. There is us, the humans, and we have a physical body with physical limitations. But then we have like ultimate decision making and freedom, and we also have ultimate spiritual inner potential.
Okay.
But we have a very limited physical body because it's clay, it's earth and water.
Yes.
And the other kind, which is called the jinn, they're made of in the Quran it says they're made of the fire that doesn't do smoke. It's a way of saying light energy or a fire-like energy.
Yes.
So it's fiery type of being that are sentient, and they have the same as how you say when beings live together instead of being lone single units. They have a social life. Sorry.
Okay.
They have social lives like us. They have families. They have countries. They have nations. They have politics. They have religions. But they evolve in another dimension where they can cross to our physical dimension and interact with animals and objects and us. But we can't grasp where they are. We can't grasp, although they are here with us.
So are you saying that they're able to interact with us, but not with them?
We are not able to reach into their realm, to interact with their realm or their dimension, although we are in the same realm. But they can somehow cross and make a physical impact in our realm, and also make a mental impact in the mental and perception of humans. But we can't go and create perceptions in their beings.
Okay.
That's how it's explained in the Quran and the tradition, and actually it's also in the Jewish tradition. So I had this background, this religious background, and those beings, the jinns, they are not limited by space and time. So and they work with humans sometimes, especially when you have a divine representative, then like Solomon, like Jesus, like Moses. Then from the Abrahamic tradition, they get that touch with that realm, and also they get a form of authority on those beings as well.
Ah, okay.
Because they represent the ultimate creator of both kinds.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I had that knowledge, and in that chapter, it says that because the genes are not limited by the space, they can be in this point, and then they can be suddenly in that point. From our perspective.
Yes.
They can pop up here and there on Earth. So Solomon asked the jinn to verify this and bring the throne or something like that. So, and when the jinn was communicating a distant information to Solomon, that was actually like us now. I would send a friend and I tell him, can you go and check on that if there is really a house there, and call me on my GSM phone.
Yeah, I get that.
So I saw the religious, even if let's say you forget about the spiritual, I saw in the religious books, at least the Abrahamic faith, there was that kind of technology or that kind of potential.
Yes.
Even without the technology. At the spiritual level, I knew it was possible because of the singularity of the whole universe. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now there is a third layer of confirmation, which is now I can see it because I have a mobile phone.
Yeah. You see the proof.
So exactly. So now I had like 3 layers or 3 perspectives in looking into the same possibility of me speaking with Li, and there is maybe 1,000 miles separating us right now. And there is no single wire that will link my voice to your voice. It always goes through wireless and undersea cables and so on, but it's a multimodal transport of information.
If
or
I can
energy.
just stop you just quickly there, there'll be some people that will be listening thinking this is quite far-fetched. But when you break things down in its simplest form, everything seems far-fetched until someone makes an invention to show proof. So if you go back way back in the day, hundreds of years, where certain things were invented, they would think you was a witch, right? And not until after some time that they would see the proof, you would no longer be a witch. But I mean, electricity was the same thing. I mean, how is that possible? It's invisible. How can you power? So it comes down, and I'm trying to put things in perspective. It comes down to just as much as you don't know that it can exist or understand at the time. As new technology comes about and as science pushes the boundaries, we then have a belief system that takes shape. Does that make sense?
That's right.
So
it makes sense. And
so I'm just trying to put it in perspective for our listeners. It's very difficult to believe this, but if you just break things down very easily, just like when you're a child and you're growing up, unbelievable things happen before your eyes. But as you grow and experience, it becomes second nature. So sorry to stop you, Mohamed.
No, you brought up a really good point. You see, we humans, we are able to understand any phenomenon only because we have a model or something to relate to.
Yeah.
Then we can understand what's happening.
Yes.
So like you said, you need a belief system that can equip your mind to comprehend a phenomenon, an event or a phenomenon. Yeah. And for me, it doesn't matter. You can have multiple operating systems. You can have a religious operating system where you don't even understand, you don't seek, you don't experiment it. You just say, I believe in it.
Yes.
Therefore, it can happen in my head. So, for example, I don't need to know that there could be a technology that allows me to walk on water.
Yeah.
I can't do it right now. Yeah.
Yes.
There could be, or I could just say, you know what? I have so much faith in Jesus and the divine. Yes, he can walk on water. Yet it is impossible from my normal, outside of my belief, outside of this belief system. I will never think this is possible. You see what I mean? So religions, they have this power, and it's a double-edged sword.
Yes.
Where you can make an abstraction of the scientific reality, or you make an abstraction of the spiritual reality.
Yes.
And just in our head, we build a model. And once we build it in our head, we are creating the rules for that phenomenon to exist without creating a dissonance. And I also find that when I was doing IT courses, that you can actually build a game and you create the rules, and you can recreate like the Arcanoid or Tetris. You can recreate the rules that we have in this world, where even though
the algorithm, basically, you're talking about the
algorithm.
Yeah.
So the algorithm is a belief system in the computer. It's a set of rules.
Yes.
You can't go behind this line, and if you come to this one, you bounce. Then you have rules like we have in the universe. When a ball falls, there is gravity, and then there is an exchange of force, and then it bounces back.
Yes.
Then I saw, hey, if I can program it in a computer game that elements inside will behave in that way, although there is no wall, there is no bottom, there is no up.
Yes.
But the ball is bouncing.
Yes.
And all the players in that game, the only thing that they see is the rules of the game. Therefore, even if in reality that whole experience doesn't exist in a physical way, from my perspective, everything that evolves in that model of rules and that system of belief is going to function according to the rules. So this is just to tell you that I'm not criticizing religions. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I think it has a lot of advantage and so on. I'm just saying, like, any belief system can play a role in helping us deal with the reality that our brain is not capable to comprehend fully, let's say.
Right. So if we go back to just what you just said, so basically it comes down to mindset again. So as you just given us an example there with the games, as much as there's no physical reality from the point of view, walls, structures, etc., but because of that belief system that's been put into place, it is.
That's right.
And that's how we've come across. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, carry on, Mohamed. It's really
Yes.
okay.
So this was the first technology, and then this example that I told you with the video game and our reality that we experience, the physical reality. It's also like you have another technology to better understanding it now. It's holograms.
Yeah.
So as soon as we have been able to make holograms as a scientific or technology thing, you can actually better understand our reality, because our reality is holographic like.
Yeah.
And
if I can just stop you there, Mohamed, sorry to be rude. This is good to the listeners. This is a good example. Before holograms came across, imagine if you saw something that was a hologram, you've never heard of it, you'd think that's witchcraft.
That's right, or a ghost or something.
Oh, something. But now, because we know holograms exist and we've been seeing it year in, year out, it's no longer witchcraft. So this is an example of how just because you haven't seen something doesn't mean it doesn't exist or it's not possible. Thank you, Mohamed.
Yes, and added to that, let's say now we are doing a video conference, but we could have a holographic conference or a VR experience, you and me, and I would be able to see you and your body in my room, or the representation of your body. When you move, it moves here, but it's just light. It's not you physically, but it's a light game representation of you. And then that light that represents you speaks and moves. So it really looks like magic, ghost, you know, whatever we find in our culture to explain that.
Yeah.
So, but also, like, you can look at holographic life even at a different level. Is that just like in the video game Tetris or Arkanoid, where there is a ball bouncing? Once you have the hologram as a reference, because when you look at the hologram, you can see that there is a shape of light that is contained somehow. But then there is no container in reality. There is no box. You know, there is no TV box. There is no mirrors that are holding the light from, you know, it's very hard to understand for the human mind.
Yes.
How can you hold the light together that it forms the shape of a human body?
Yeah.
Yet there is no physical barrier in that space to reflect the light.
Yeah.
To start with. So this technology should really be troubling for us.
Yeah.
To accept. Yet now we are accepting it because we put a name on it. It's a hologram.
Yeah.
Okay, now we forget about the dissonance.
Yeah.
We can deal with holograms. Now you can see that a human being can have a holographic form that I can communicate with. I know it's not you, but I know that it's your
form.
representation.
Yeah,
it's your reflection.
Yeah.
Now I see you. Your hologram can hook the wall, and the wall can go through your hologram, and your hologram can go through the wall, because there is no actual physical ally. There is ally behaving, but there is no physical ally. So I don't have the dissonance if I see your hologram going through a wall.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
I see exactly what you mean.
Yeah, it will not make a dissonance in my mind that I will now say that this is not possible. He's a jinn. He's a ghost. I will not have a dissonance because I know it's a hologram.
You're rationalizing it because there's a rational behavior behind it. There's a reason, then it's not a problem. You don't freak out and run for the hills.
You don't freak out. And I have elements of knowledge that tells me that, yes, it can go through because he's actually not there. It's just a vibration of light. It's light.
Yeah.
And the wall is also a form of vibration. And these two vibrations, they could cross each other. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Or one could reflect the other, or one could stop without damaging the other.
Yeah.
Because in our physicality, we are not able to have an object crossing another unless it damages it.
Yes.
So now imagine this. Now that we have the holographic understanding, then I imagine myself, you see this action here. Why is the mouse not going through my hand and falling on the floor. Just like the mouse, if I put it in the hologram hand, it will go through.
Yeah.
So then I start to think that I am physically existing, and therefore there is a physical touch point here that is holding this mouth and preventing it from being subject to gravity. So there is a counter force. Yeah. That's how we explain. That's how we explain our reality, which is a Tetris game, or
I get it.
But now when I start to dig into knowledge, there is no physical contact between the mouse and my skin.
Okay.
You know that there is never ever a contact. There is always a space between the molecules and the atoms of this plastic and the atoms of my hand, and they repulse each other.
Yeah. Vibrations.
Yeah. So this vibration, this frequency of this skin and body, and this frequency of this kind of plastic and its density makes it so that they can't mix.
Okay, just briefly talk about that, because some people won't understand about this knowledge. So let's briefly talk about the frequency of things that help separate one thing from another.
Yeah. We can use the example of water and oil.
Yeah.
Because they're very similar. They're both liquids. So you could say also my hand and this is very similar. It's like basically two stones made of carbon with different densities. So this and this is made of the same thing. Oil and water is made of the same thing. But because oil and water have two different densities, and they also have two different compositions on how the molecules they hold each other.
Okay.
So there is a cohesion for my hand. The molecules of my skin, they are cohesive.
Okay.
And the molecules of this are cohesive on their own. Likewise is the body of water and oil. They have a cohesion between them, but there is a small difference. Maybe for the human eye and perception between the oil and the water, there is 0.01% difference. Because there is just a little bit of fat, of oily fat in the oil, but otherwise oil is 99% water. Yet with that small 0.1% difference, it's enough for these two bodies to reject each other.
Yeah.
To create a divide and to create a rule. It's a computer rule that says that your body of concentration, your nature, your frequency, because now you're not just water, you're water plus a bit of
something
fat.
else.
Yeah. Now water and fat together as a body vibrates in a different way than water alone with just the normal water minerals. So
can I just break it down for the listeners?
Yeah,
so it could be the equivalent of having a car, and everything has a frequency. So even the car will bounce along a road a certain distance up and down at a certain frequency, but you have another car that has something else in it and it's heavier, but it will go across the same road and the frequency will change in how it goes up and down when it's going over the bumps. So it's still the same car, but there's slightly different things inside that car that changes the up and down movement of frequency. Is that a good way to break things down?
It is a good way. It is a good way, and we can also relate it to a scientific thing that now we know it is that, what we call the resonance of objects.
Yeah.
So, and resonance is about frequency, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So one model of car, like you said, and another model of car, although both have a steering wheel and four wheels, and even if they have almost the same weight, let's say this car is 1 ton, this car is 1.1 ton, but their composition, the way they manufacture is different. Therefore, this car as a body, because it's many things interlock together.
That's right.
As a body, it acquires a different vibration marker for resonance.
Yeah.
And then the same components, 90% the same components, metals, plastics, and so on, because this car has a different shape and a little bit will have a different resonance. Or a bridge, two bridges may have different resonances.
Yes.
They're made of the same. So maybe we can talk about the resonance of an object, because we have an object made of multiple elements.
Yes.
So you could say the resonance of oil is, of course, different than the resonance of water. We can understand it.
Yeah.
Also, you can express it with temperature. Oil and water will boil at different temperatures. And what is boiling? Boiling is also
resonance.
an excitement.
Yeah,
It is. So now you can understand that, oh yes, the same element, water that is in oil and water that is in salt water, the same element can bounce each other.
Yes.
So the same element here can bounce each other.
Yeah.
Yet the oil and the water, they actually never touch each other.
Yeah.
You don't have a molecule of water physically touching a molecule of oil. There is like a magnetic, electromagnetic, and another kind of force in between.
Yeah. Resistance.
So if I was to tell you that this was iron and this was a magnet, and I turn the magnet and the iron can repulse it, and there is empty space in between, but yet this will hold it levitating, you will easily believe me, because you have the knowledge that magnets, and I experience magnets in my life. I know that two magnets can iron magnets can either attract or repulse, even if in between them there is no observable physical object that actually will push.
And they do this kind of thing on trains. They have these on trains in Japan, etc., where they have this so-called invisible air in between, but it's repelling, which is what we were talking about now.
Exactly, yeah. And you see, because you have those examples in your head, I have them in my head. I saw a magnet. It's no more magic, but let's say 1,000 years ago, in the Pharaoh in Egypt.
Yeah.
And if I can levitate a metal object and people don't see that I have a magnet in my hand, and I come and say, look.
Yeah, exactly.
And
that's a really good example. So everything now sums it up so people can understand how this can exist. So go back to the technology state and how.
So I haven't finished. Sorry, my example of the human condition and hologram. So because now we have the holographic and the electromagnetic repulsion that can tell us that something can cross something, or something can reject something physically, even though there is no physical medium. Now you can ask yourself, am I really sitting on the chair that I am sitting on? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Because in the nature of things, in the spiritual realm, there is no chair and there is no me.
Yeah.
And there is no need for a chair to hold me, for me to be sitting.
Yeah.
That's like the spiritual realm.
Yes.
If I will, I'll be sitting. If I will, I'll be flying. And if I will, I'll be lying down. So that's the spiritual side. And then when science now digs it's mechanics, when you dive into the atom and stuff, it's no more it's no more physics and nuclear physics. But at one point, even the nuclear physics scientists, they say this is mechanics. Did you hear that? Yeah, semantic. So when you go at the very fractal small composition of the universe, you encounter the laws of what we call mechanics. And when you go at the scale of galaxies and so on, it's also mechanics. So if you say that we have a mechanical life, and I understand that the hologram can hold the shape without having a physical container. Now, my being as a human, it holds together because there is what is called the skin. The biggest organ we have is the skin, which is like it's just an envelope.
Yeah.
So mechanically speaking, we're not supposed to be able to stand with such a thin skin holding all the stuff together. Mechanically.
Yeah.
It's very hard because we're just liquid. We're totally liquid. We're like how you call those animals in the sea that are almost transparent, and
I know, like jellyfish.
Jellyfish. Yeah, we are jellyfish. We're water in a small membrane. Have you ever seen a jellyfish that can stand up and walk straight? With just a few pieces of, even if they had few pieces of calcium. So you can start to understand that this is not just the observable physicality that can explain that I can stand, I can sit, and that an object holds me, or that I can hold an object. There is much more to that. And it is not physical, it is a rule-based system.
Okay.
It's a rule-based system that is coded or programmed depending on the frequency of what we call physical objects. So how a frequency of an object is, and in the rule game of the frequencies, some frequencies can go through others, some cannot go through others. We know it already. Okay. Because even with the sound, you can manifest, you can transfer energy, and you can transfer information through sound. Yeah. But you can also send back sound with another wave. You can block the sound or push it back the other way. Yeah. You can also levitate object with sound. You can physically push. And this is something that we can experience when you have a sound system with a bass boomer. Yeah. You put your hand, you're gonna feel it.
Yeah.
You feel it.
Yeah.
So now we have that reference where the human body and the human experience can understand that actually there are waves of different forms and of different shapes that can go through material, but some waves, they exist on their own without a medium. Mm-hmm. Just like the light. Light has both. It has a physical medium that we call physical, the photon, but then there's a wave within the photon moving. So frequencies now, I mean, with different models that we have, with different experience we have, we start to understand what is the frequency rule-based system, or what it could be, because we all have seen in our life magnets pushing metal. We all have seen in our life, for example, if there was a sound system, like I was trying to say, that you put your hand on the bass system and you feel that sound is actually touching your skin and kind of pushing your body a little bit. We all have that resistance. We all have felt our hair getting straight when there is electrostatic in the environment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we all have these human experiences with frequency-based phenomena. Now we experience them, and also we have machines and tools to measure them. We have things to measure radioactivity. We have things to measure electricity. We have things to manifest things that we can't see and see them in graphs and numbers and so on. So, you know, we didn't have this even just like 200 years ago, the normal human. So we were bombarded. We were living all these phenomena. They existed at that time. Electromagnetism didn't start to exist when we were able to measure it.
Well, can I just slow you down there? I just want to say, it actually, you can put things in perspective, and they're tools, all right? Just like when we first started farming, we used to have these small hand tools, right? And when we used to plant potatoes, it took so long. But then we were able to get the tool called tractors. And they had special tools on the back of tractors, and they were able to plow the fields, and they can plant the fields in less than 10% of the time. So if you think of it from that point of view, we start off with certain tools, and then we get more efficient and bigger tools to help us go along. Would be a good analyzation.
It is exactly that. It's almost like the evolution of humanity is just a discovery or a rediscovery of the same things.
Yeah.
We're just rediscovering the same things using new technologies and new tools. And that's why I started the channel Ikam Sheikh and the link between technology and spirituality, because really technology is a tool of spiritual discovery. Yeah, because what I'm trying to tell you, like, unless I could experience this phenomenon and then I have a technology, a gadget, a tool, you know, like you said, a machine, or a tool that says that, yes, even though you don't see that, it's infrared. Here are infrared goggles. Now you see it.
Yes.
Now I say, oh yeah, I was not able to see it, but if I put goggles, I can see it. Therefore, I know that it's there, even though I can't observe it.
Yes.
We didn't have this much of this kind of technologies that were allowing us to see what we can't see without going crazy.
Yes.
A few hundred years ago. So because we have all these technologies, we don't realize, but our brain starts to open up to what we can't perceive with our five senses. Because every time we have an opportunity that a machine is going to extend our perception. So if I can't hear a certain sound, I can put a hearing aid and now I hear a frequency that I was not able to hear. If there were colors that I was not able to see with my human condition, I put some glasses, something, I see colors that I never seen before. Or I see shapes and I see temperature, I see things from their temperature, not from their reflection of light, which is something very new to us.
Yeah.
I see something because it's warmer than the background that is behind it.
Yeah.
So now as a human brain, I know that there's plenty of stuff out here that unless I have a gadget to see it, there's a lot of things happening and I don't know. There's data being transferred. There's things banging each other. There are things pushing something. There's so many things is happening, yet I can't see it. I can't hear it. I can perceive it, but I know it's there.
Yeah.
So you see, already just this is a fantastic door that is opening in our mind to say, if I am aware through machines and technology that things are here, yet I can't see them, then I can conceive of much more things that could be existing even beyond this realm that you can measure it yet, because 50 years ago, I didn't have that machine. I was not able to conceive that this could exist. But because now I have this history and I can say, hey, you know what? 20 years ago, I would have called you a heretic.
Yeah. Totally.
But now, because I have technology, I will not call you a heretic. So maybe I should listen to that guy who's saying that, you know, there's these things and these things that you cannot observe, but they're impacting your life and universe.
Yeah.
And because you had the same ignorance before.
Yes.
And you gap the ignorance with a machine or a tool. Now you have a referential, a benchmark for our own ignorance from our ignorance. Now I could project and say, maybe I am still ignorant and we don't have the tool and the machine to explain it, but nothing can deny whatever that person or whatever thing that looks impossible. Nothing can deny it. It's just that I cannot comprehend it, and I don't have the technical tools that can digest it for my brain, because that's what technology does. It digests a phenomenon for our brain to be able to comprehend it. So I'm trying to go back to the hologram, which I think is a very nice gateway to spirituality. Is that if I can see that my physical body cannot go through things, but then I see a holographic representation of my body that can go through things and things can go through it. Maybe I could be, in essence, a holograph myself. Yeah, a more advanced hologram. And what is this hologram? It's a plasma hologram out of water. So that's what I was saying. Like, mechanically speaking, this water can't be held in such a small, thin skin.
Something's just occurred to me. So it's a situation where I really like the way how you've already brought this out. Now, this hologram is a tool for us to have a representation of ourselves. And as all tools are, it's a bit like, you know, if we're disabled in a certain way, we still do use that tool to be able to walk because we lost our legs, right? So we use a little tool to help us walk, but it doesn't mean that we couldn't walk ourselves. It's just that we're disabled. Now, this is the equivalent of the hologram. There's nothing to say this tool is here helping us to go through the wall. But if we knew how to do it ourselves, and not knowing how to do it is just a matter of time, right?
Yes.
We just don't have the knowledge to do it ourselves. So we use the tool to do that.
Exactly. And also we have this, yes. Now you're making a very good point. And also if you put on top of that the knowledge that we have already built in the common knowledge of mankind.
Yes.
That light is a frequency.
That's right.
And water is a frequency. Now, what's the difference? You know, it's just a frequency. There's no such thing as light is lighter or water is heavier. It's just a perception. Because essentially everything, carbon, atom, metal, air, emptiness, it's just vibrations. These are all just vibrations. So once you start to understand that your body itself is a vibration and that hologram is a vibration, then like there is no real dualism. We're just vibrations. But because I have had my experience in this body, which I thought until now everything was just physical, was just mechanically physical. This would have been our discussions 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But now we can have a discussion and say we are vibrational being. We are able to engage in this discussion because, one, there has been some spiritual inner knowledge discovery that we have had, but there's also a scientific discovery, and then there is there has been a physical experimental discovery of vibrations and how vibrations are affecting us, so that allowed us to understand that, hey, we may actually as well be a vibration ourselves. Does it make sense?
Yeah, no, totally. No, totally. So, I mean, it makes massive sense to me. If you just break it down in its simplest of forms, if you believe, and I'm also speaking to our listeners here, if you believe that everything is a vibration, no matter where you look around you, be it your clothes on your back, the house that you're in, if we're all vibration, then it must be possible that we can tune and retune those vibrations. Just like if you have a radio frequency, we change the frequency with just a dial, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So if everything is, and that's if you believe in that, if everything is a vibration, why is it not possible for us to have the knowledge, be it now, later, in the past, whatever, that we can be in tune with changing those vibrations? And this is where the spiritualism comes into it. And I'm crossing with science, really. It's just that science is always pushing our boundaries because we're still learning. We're learning beings, right? Would you say that, Mohamed?
No, definitely. And, conceiving our being as a vibration is very difficult for the human brain.
Yeah.
It's really difficult. It's actually natural, but because we have lost our natural touch.
Yeah.
So we are our brain or our being has been conditioned in a certain way that what we understand easily is the law of action and reaction. That we understand, even if we don't understand that it doesn't touch each other. We just understand that if you punch me in my face, I'm going to feel pain. And if I push this object is going to push. But also, if a moving object hits me, it's going to hurt me.
Yeah.
That's what we understand, because when you get slapped, it translates immediately. That experience is translating into your brain. That the hand of Eli is not going through my face and creating some damage. So that is very easy for us to understand. And that's why I think unless you start to seek, unless you start to use other referentials, or unless you have a technology that will funnel science, unless maybe it's science through some discoveries is going to funnel you, your thinking, into realizing that, oh yes, it's all vibrations. Why? Because what is the color? Oh damn, in the science they call it a frequency, 14,400 hertz. Huh? What is blue? 28,000 hertz. Oh, what is this sound? It's also a frequency.
Yes.
Yeah. Then so if now I can understand that light and sound is a frequency, then the science tell us, the atom of gold, it vibrates at this frequency. Oh, it also has a frequency. So if carbon has a frequency, then now you see science has funneled through these discoveries,
Yes,
the human thinking, to give it like a reference to say, now you can conceive that you are a vibration.
It's tangible.
And it becomes, and it doesn't have to break my reality. You see, I don't have to break my reality. Like, my second or third spiritual experience. Actually, no, all of them. Every time, every time I tilted into the other realm, and then at different levels, but every time, then the next day when I'm living my life, I have to deal with how is vertigo in English, when you're scared of heights.
Yeah, that's right.
So a multidimensional vertigo.
Okay, break that one down.
Okay, so let's start with the normal vertigo that we all know. So we humans, we are very familiar, and we have not much hard time to deal with the X and the Y axis. No, sorry. Yeah, let's say straight and going left, because we live on a flat earth, flat plains most of the time. Like my desk is flat, your house is flat. So we don't have a problem moving front, left, and right. These are the two dimensions that are very easy for us to live with. And then beside 2-3 meters of height, we actually don't really have a good grasp of the height as a dimension, because we seldom experience the full availability of height in the human experience, unless you take a flight. But even with the flight, you're disconnected from the height because you're sitting in the aircraft. So you see, when we go into a mountain or we go into a high bridge, and suddenly we experience the Z, I think the Z dimension.
Yeah.
Then we're overwhelmed by that feeling, yeah, of being being at a point of a dimension that we are not used to be at that level dimension. We're just to our height. Maybe I go on top of a chair, or I take a. That's our maximum our experience. So the vertigo doesn't come from a physical condition. It comes from a lack of experience of that depth.
Okay.
That could be beneath you or above you.
Yes.
So the depth that is above you is not impacting you very much, because we are wired with gravity. You know, our reference is that we will fall.
Yeah.
I know that I will not be blown into space, so I don't have that fear.
Yeah.
But the fear that we have is that we're going to be smacked on the floor.
Yes.
So the emotional fear of gravity, and then the discovery of the depth, and then your brain, what it does, it says, if I fall from here, I die. That's the first thing that comes to our mind. So that's an experience. I have never experienced that level of depth. I have experienced this dimension, but I didn't experience it at this level of this depth. So imagine, already in our world where we live every day, we are getting vertigo of our own dimension, which we know very well.
Yeah.
So imagine now there is another dimension where you move into, and it's like it's not higher, because it's really like another field. But for the sake of simplicity, imagine that the human experience of height was 10,000 feet, even with all our technology.
Yeah.
Now suddenly I can feel the depth to Earth from the moon. Now there is a much bigger gap and cold and absence of things. There is a depth that I have just discovered.
Yeah.
And when I come back to Earth, even at 10,000 feet, between the position of 10,000 feet that I could have accommodated to, will not prepare me for the level of the moon, for example. It's not a good example, but just as a so now when you come back from the orbit of the moon, and you've been orbiting around the Earth at the level of the moon's orbit, and then you spent enough time, and there is no time and no space, which means you spent eternity in that orbit.
Okay.
So you didn't feel gravity for like 100 years. You didn't feel gravity anymore. You didn't feel hunger. You didn't feel your body. You didn't feel the crushing of your bones by your own weight. So you disconnected from the physical, mechanical experience of being on Earth. Yeah. And then suddenly you come back. So now you feel the crush. Yeah. But your being is still in orbit. You're still in orbit. So now it creates that vertigo, because you know that there is no Earth, and there is just more depth and more depth and more depth and more depth in the other dimensions. Like there is a sea beneath a sea, and there is a sea beneath a sea, and there is a sky above a sky, and there is another sky above a sky. And then you're looking through all of them, through the skies and through the seas, all through. And at the end of the seas, oceans, there's another sky, another ocean. So you just see indefinitely, so hard to explain in human words. But now when I walk, I have vertigo because I know there is no earth and no ground, yet I'm walking. And I know that I'm walking on nothing, because there is nothing, it's just a vibration. And I am a vibration. So if I use my human mind to try to explain that I can stand on this ground, I know that there is no ground and there is no me in a separate way that could hold each other, because I just experienced the other realm, where you are everything and you're nothing. So that creates a sense of vertigo, because every step I take, I'm like, am I going to fall through the dimension, or be swallowed up, or internally or outerly? Like every step I take in the three-dimensional world, I know is virtual. So now I am suffering, or I am experiencing the real absence of this ground, and the real absence of my mechanical existence, which I know is just rule-based. It's just in this game, in this scenario, there are these rules that make it that carbon cannot go through this and so on. So that's the vertigo that I had from my spiritual experiences, and that also reinforced my understanding that technology can explain that, because today I can bring you to have that experience, Eli, without the spiritual experience. I can put you into in a VR headset. Yeah. And the VR headset is going to simulate you going into space suddenly, and you're gonna feel the G's, even though there's no G. There's no G. You haven't moved.
Yeah.
You're gonna feel the acceleration. You're gonna feel the G's, and then you're gonna look down everywhere, and there is nothing to hold your body. In the VR space, in your helmet, you see your feet, but you can't see your feet touching any ground. Now you stay there a little bit long enough, even the feedback loop from your feet that touch the ground will dissipate.
Yeah.
So if you stay like enough number of hours, even your body stops to send you feedback signals. So if I come back and see you after 1 week in that realm, you'll tell me, Mohamed, there is no earth. I'm not on earth. I'm not standing. And I tell you, Ella, you're standing on the ground. Say, no, Mohamed, I'm not standing on the ground. I move freely. There is unlimited space beneath me, above me, in all directions. So and then I remove the helmet. So imagine the feeling that you will have.
Yeah, one extreme to another.
Yeah, you're gonna feel like landing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you're gonna feel like things are attacking you. The physicality of things is attacking you because you were in that realm where everything goes, you're like just flowing.
So can I ask you, when it comes to technology, though, we're talking about technology, these VR units actually are significant, would you say, a bridge between technology and spiritualism?
Huge. It's the most consumer-ready bridge. There are other technologies, but I would say there are two technologies that can help humans understand the real reality beyond our three-dimensional. There's VR, and that's why now our Z generation and the youth, they understand multiverse. For us to understand multiverse when we were young, we had no references. Even like if our time to watch a science fiction movies that talks about multiverse would have been hard to understand. Because we had no conception that there could be parallel worlds and we could evolve in multiple worlds. But now with video games, our youth, they evolve in a virtual environment, and they have friends, and it's mixed social gaming and gaming. And then now we have virtual spaces in the VR where you can be a doctor, you can be a dog that barks, and you can be a king in that realm, and you're respected as a king in that realm. So now our mind is able to see that we could hold different personalities, we could play different roles, and we could be in different realms with rules and societal rules, group rules, and physical rules at the same time. We are able to digest this mentally. And this is fantastic, because if you're able, while you have your consciousness and your experience in this life, if you are able to live another life in a virtual world, and you are still able to remember that you're living them without contradiction, as a single being, now you could understand that there are much more realms, physical realms, like the virtual realms that you experience in the helmet. It's much easier for you from a mental perspective to say, this body is a VR suit, is a complete astronaut suit. So not only the helmet, but my skin is the feedback loop in the VR game, and which we start to have. We start to have for shooting games. We have those body things, and when somebody shoots in the VR,
yeah,
you feel,
and they're
you feel
active, and the suits are active. Yeah, I know the ones you talk about.
And now we have gloves, so your hand appears in the game.
Yeah,
and if you do VR games with gloves and stuff, and then the skin of the glove gives you feedback. So when you touch something in the VR which doesn't exist, there's a feedback loop here, and then you feel it in that realm.
Yeah,
you see the picture, yeah?
Totally, yeah. Totally.
So now imagine the glove, the VR glove. Your skin is a VR glove, and that's why when I touch this,
which is the mouse on the hand.
Which is the mouse. When I touch this, I have a feedback loop that there is a feeling on the top of my skin that explains to my brain the mouse is putting pressure. That's why you're holding it. Now I know that the VR game uses the gloves to send me feedback when the object doesn't exist. Therefore, my skin maybe is a VR suit. Therefore, maybe I am a virtual being in a virtual world right now.
Yeah.
And I could be in a simulation myself as a physical body.
It's a bit like Matrix, isn't it?
It is the same, yeah. Matrix, all these movies and stuff, they just explain it to us and they give us reference points. But now it will not be that much of a dissonance for my brain. If I experience the VR in a VR suit with gloves and complete immersion in that environment, and then I punch people and even I eat in the game, and then we find a way that psychologically there's a signal sent by the helmet to make me feel full. And there is a signal that will make the food create a feedback loop from my tongue that I feel the mechanical food.
Yeah.
You can cheat me that I'm eating in the VR game. So I could have the same life that I have right now, experience in the VR. I know it's fake, but I can enjoy that fakeness without without being schizophrenic. Schizophrenic.
Yeah.
So now I can come back, and now we can even understand better our sickness, what we call sicknesses like autism, schizophrenia. It's not a sickness. It's actually the normal condition. You know, the autists are the normal. We are the unnormal. We are who are we put ourselves in boxes and stuff.
Yeah.
The autists have kept that degree of freedom. The schizophrenics, they are right. What's the difference between this reality and my imagined reality? Because when you put your helmet, you who are so much against schizophrenia,
yes,
your helmet, you are even more deceived.
Yes.
In my own schizophrenia.
I get that. I get that because we're in a rule-based systems, we're holding ourselves back within those rules, and because really the life is infinite in so many different ways. With schizophrenia, autism, etc., they go beyond, and this is how they can feel beyond those rule sets, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Exactly. So actually, that's it's really interesting you bring that up, because to be honest, I didn't even think of it from that point of view. So because of we are best in societies, governments that have a rule-based system, in a way, it could be seen as a form of control. So we don't go beyond thinking a certain way, and it's a bit topsy-turvy world you're suggesting. Is that?
No, but again, remember, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying these are just facts now. You know, like without technology, we would not have facts that we can talk about, you and me.
Yeah.
You and me, we can have a different belief system today.
Yeah.
But we can agree on a common reality, even though we use two different operating systems. You use Apple OS, I use Windows.
Yeah.
Now, the browser where we interact in the internet is the universal space that it doesn't matter your operating system. It doesn't matter your religion. It doesn't matter your political ground. There is a common space that now we as humans, we understand that where we can interact, and there is in that marketplace or that interaction space, that interaction space has its own rules.
Good. Let me break it down like this. You've actually made a massive and a great point. So when you was talking about different realms, etc., so that the listeners he's broken it down really well. Let's think about, as he was saying, about operating systems. Those are the different realms. All right. Just think as the different operating systems are the different realms. And I can understand that some listeners can't get their head around that, but you can get your head around operating systems. So just imagine we have multiple realms and each realm has its own operating system. But the common denominator, as what he was saying, is we all use a browser and we're all still browsing the same internet.
That's right.
And that's where, so that's the simplest form that you can think of it. But yeah, it's really interesting. Carry on, Mohamed.
Yeah,
really...
and that's what I think in the Hindu tradition they call the Akashic records. So we all have access if we do the journey of self-discovery. We all have access to this. We all have a browser to browse the Akashic records independently from our operating system, and we all have access to that internet. But we decide to cut it off because of fear. So, for example, let's say you have an operating system and I have an operating system.
Yeah.
There are things that I can do in my operating system that are acceptable.
Yes.
Allowed to happen in my operating system.
Each operating system has a different rule set.
Yes. And sometimes it's small differences. Hey, you cannot upload the file like this.
Yes.
We upload it this way.
Yes.
It doesn't matter actually, yeah?
Yeah.
Because once you upload it, it's there.
Yes.
So how you upload it doesn't matter.
Yes.
But now, if I come and I tell you, and I want to impose my operating system on how to upload the file in your operating system,
yes,
we're going to have
a problem.
Clash.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yet we are talking about the same thing, which is just getting that information there. So that's what creates most of the wars between religions or political parties and so on, is technically speaking about the same end objective that we both want, but looking at it only from each one's operating system perspective. Because in my culture, for example, in a Muslim country, they say, we want to live in this way. For us, a man can marry 4 women. It's not bad or it's just, this is our set of rules, our set of social rules. So in that society, nobody is shocked by that. If you would like to have more than 1 woman, that operating systems allows it for that community.
Yes.
Now you go to America, and then the American democratic, or what is called freedom framework, doesn't allow you to have more than 1 wife in the civil law. Yeah. So now, if these guys come and try to, sometimes from goodwill, they say, hey, we have found the right way. You should not marry more than 2 women. And you go into the other operating system, you said, no, it can't be a relationship of 1 to many between a man and a woman. And then they tell you, no, it can. Yeah. So no one is in a position. When you understand this, that different humans can live with different operating systems, you can start to accept and respect.
Yes.
That it could be completely different.
Yeah.
And also you can also start to see the hypocrisies of each side.
Yes.
For example, if I distance myself from both operating systems and I look at the American so-called freedom framework, I say, no, it's not freedom, because you are so angered that an Arab or a Zulu or a Muslim, because it's not only the Muslim, there are many cultures that have polygamy as a norm. So you're so angry at polygamy, yet you're cheating on your girlfriend with 4 other girlfriends.
Yeah.
Like, what is the difference?
Yeah.
From an ethic perspective, one is legal, they made it legal and they have responsibilities, and actually yours is illegal because you don't take any responsibility, yet you cheat. So cheating with multiple girlfriends is fine, but having 4 wives under a legal framework that gives responsibility and health and good life for every kid and every wife of that man, meaning the man is under rules. It's a rule-based system.
Yes.
So now you can't criticize, it's just like, it's better to keep quiet, unless that man in America has done the self, they have like done the work on their own. Then of course they will not criticize, they will understand that. Likewise, somebody from a Zulu, or actually, let's stay in America, the Mormons, no need to go outside of America.
Yeah.
If you take a guy from San Francisco, I don't know, a liberal, whatever you call it. He goes into Utah and he wants to give a life lesson to the Mormon. He can be into a tough ride, ethically speaking, because the Mormons will come with so many set of rules to demonstrate that they uphold the dignity of their kids and their women, even though they have 12 of them.
Yes.
And they can pinpoint to that San Francisco guy that you have 3 boyfriends and 3 girlfriends. Like, what is the difference? So you are with 6 human beings of 2 different genders. I don't see a problem with it. I am with 6 different human beings in my life that only have 1 gender. Like, what is the big difference? You see what I mean?
We understand, yeah.
Societal point of view. So it's the same with every rule, including what can happen physically in our realm. For example, if you go to the Amazon, to a tribe that has not yet discovered the mobile phone, and you tell them, you go to that mountain, and there is another mountain in between you, you don't see each other and you can't hear each other, but I will make you speak to each other. What will they do?
Freak out.
They will probably plant a spear in you.
Yeah, exactly. Magic.
Demon
magic.
Now the same 2 humans, which it can be any one of us.
Yes.
Before we get that experience, you give me that little box.
Yeah.
And you give me half an hour, you explain to me, while the 2 humans are near each other. You give me an easy digestible referential. So you put that human here, like distance that he knows that my sound reached your ear. So let's say like 2 meters. And you tell him, okay, speak to him in the machine. Sorry, speak to him without the machine. Okay, I hear you, you hear me. Now speak to him with the machine. So you create a proximity of the experience. Because remember the depth. So sometimes it's not the experience that is scary, it's the depth of that experience. Because the same experience at a small scale will not have been scary. It is what I discovered when I was exposed to the different levels of depth.
Yeah.
So then you let those 2 people experience wireless communication at 5 meters distance, then 50 meters, then 100 meters, but they still see each other. So it helps the brain relate. Then you put them in 2 hills. They still see each other. They can hear each other. Now the box becomes, they understand the technology from experience. Now they don't speak like, hey, do you hear me? Now he got it, he's speaking in the box. Like kids, yeah?
Yes.
And after that, you put a mountain in between, and now they can speak over different continents.
Yeah.
Now those Indians who just a day before could not comprehend this technology and would have called you a demon, now the technology of a GSM phone or satellite phone have allowed them to leap forward from, without misrespecting, from Stone Age level of understanding of communication to modern time understanding of communication. So it's not a matter of intelligence. It's really just a matter of experimenting a rule-based system and then giving just enough time for the brain to rebuild the model of the universe, technically. To allow that technology now to come into your knowledge and say, now the universe is like that and things could happen. Now I understand why a satellite on the moon can talk to somebody on the Earth.
Yeah, so it's a form of acceptance, really. It's experience and acceptance. The experience, obviously, is the most important thing, because you can be blind faith, but most people accept once they see some kind of proof.
That's right.
And once they go through that process of proof, then it becomes reality.
Yes, and you know, if you conceive reality as a model at a current moment in your life, not as a fixed true reality, because that's also the trap that we are in. Every time we build a model of the universe, we think that this is the best model and the only one.
That's right.
And we make it rigid. But if you consider that your model of reality at this moment is still a hypothesis, to be proven wrong or to be proven right, don't know. It's a hypothesis that allows me to evolve. But because I have kept in my mind that this is just a hypothesis, my brain and my mind and my heart is open to something new to come in as a knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. And this is how I live. I mean, I've always had a philosophy that I live by. And it's a situation where, I mean, I'm a Buddhist myself, but I do believe there is not one religion or some kind of belief system for everybody. You've got to find what works for you. And this is the operating systems we're talking about. So Buddhism is my operating system. Being Muslim is another operating system, etc. But my belief is this, you know, is that we're all going to the same destination, but there's different paths to get there.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's as simple as that. You just got to find your own path, and that's my belief. And so I totally understand when you're talking about these other operating systems, when you're talking about the belief system, and this is also what we talk about in business when it comes to mindset, right? Your mindset.
That's right. Yeah.
And your mindset plays a massive part in business, and not only business, but in your personal life. So it only comes down to what you believe in and how far you push those barriers. And so it's accumulation of a lot of things. But if you look in the
I'm in a call. Sorry, my daughter stormed in. Tell Mama I'm in a call. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Sorry.
No problem. I'll count you back in. 3, 2, 1. So yes, so the belief system is very important, and with the mindset, which is what we were talking about previously in another podcast with each other, and also it shows again. So there's a huge amount that goes into technology, and with the virtual reality side of it helps us simplify things to try to understand that, to cross barriers between spiritualism and the business tech language, virtual reality. Yeah, so it's really interesting what you've come up with. What else can you just put together when it comes to technology to help us bridge that gap? So with virtual reality is a massive thing. And what other technology bridges the gap with the faith mindset, spiritualism side of things?
Yeah, so I would say that it's not just unique to our time. Every time has its own arrival of technology that allowed them to connect with the spiritual world. For example, the wheel, the invention of the wheel, the invention of the zero, 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago. Those were as significant as virtual reality. So there is something I want to highlight, Eli, because sometimes we may think that modern time humans are more intelligent than ancient time humans.
Okay, break it.
Because somehow we invented this technology and so on. But no, because if you look at Plato and the allegory of the cave, he basically was trying to explain to his peers that you guys have a VR headset on your head, and he made the allegory of the cave. Are you familiar with that allegory of the cave?
No, not quite.
I'll try to summarize it without, but I mean, you can watch a video or look at it. So Plato came to the conclusion that we humans, we do not necessarily need to experience life firsthand to build a model of reality. So he said, if you put 5 men or 4 men in a cave, and then they are looking at the end of the cave, there's a dark wall, and there is a source of light behind them, which is the entrance of the cave, and the sunlight is coming. Yeah, so light shines into the cave, but from behind them, and they are chained, and they have never been able to look behind to see the source of the light. So they don't even know that there is a source of the light behind. What they see is the projection of shadows on their screen in front of them all their life, from being a baby to adult. So they experience monsters and shapes that are actually just shadows of reality on the wall. Yeah. But that is now their reality, because they have not experienced anything out of that projection in that wall. So it becomes their fear, their happiness, the whole life. They're just watching that screen like a TV screen or like a VR screen in front of them. So that's exactly VR. So Plato was talking about this like 2,300 years back.
Wow.
He knew.
Yeah.
That's exactly VR, because VR is you're in the cave of Plato, but now instead of a concept that is written on a poem or drawn in a paper, it's a helmet that you put in your face, and you can experience life, and you can forget that there is a real life behind you or outside of you.
Mhm.
And that's why they forbid it for kids of 12 years old, because they will lose touch with reality.
Reality, yeah. It's so easy.
So yes, so that's why I'm trying to say mankind, from my experience, is no more intelligent or less intelligent at any point of its existence in the space of time, in the span of time.
Mhm.
The cavemen, I think, they had the same cerebral and mental capacity as we have today. The only thing that they did not have is how much time they need to acquire knowledge. Like, for example, if cavemen wanted to study the bees, they would have to spend like 5 years studying the bees to understand how the bees work.
Mhm.
But now I can watch a YouTube video, and in 2 hours I get the same knowledge of a 5 years
That's true.
observation.
Accelerated.
Accelerated. But given time, the cavemen would have come to the same knowledge and conclusion as me watching my 2 hours of YouTube video. I am not more intelligent than that man at that time. It's just that
different tools.
I have different tools, which is knowledge acquisition.
That's right.
And then when we invented the book, I can open a book, and in 1 day of reading, I will know everything that guy took 5 years to discover through physical experimentation.
It's
so
true.
This is
it's true, because we're using AI at the moment, and I use it for my clients, and you use it also, and that's accelerated our workload massively. It's exactly a similar thing again, right? What would normally take me about 3 days to do for a client now takes me sometimes 2 hours, because of how we use AI in our workflow.
Yes, and now apply this to the lifetime of a human. Access to knowledge is accelerated. Therefore, you reach faster the moment where your brain has enough knowledge to start to understand the spiritual world. For example, Plato may have discovered the spiritual world at age 35 by writing the best books, by reading the best books of his ancestors and so on, and experimenting and dialogues and stuff. But today, technically, a 17-year-old person could watch our video, a couple of videos, and could come to the same level of spiritual discovery as Plato or Socrates or any big philosopher may have come to after 40 years of human experience.
Yeah, amazing.
And that's in itself, it's a technological bridge through knowledge acquisition in terms of speed to acquire knowledge, to be able to have enough touch points of knowledge to build a model that you can extend now and understand that there is much more than the first level of experienced reality.
This is really interesting. It's obviously quite an in-depth subject, but I think it's been broken down to understand how faith spiritualism bridges the gap with technology, especially when you're talking about the phone, starting with the phone and being able to communicate with people. And then you've got the virtual reality side of things, bridging the gap with that. So I totally understand it. It all comes down to just a knowledge based and having that faith at the same time, and the mindset. So there's a huge amount of moving parts, so to speak, when it comes to the belief system, right?
Yes, and if you don't mind, just because you helped me arrange my thoughts as you speak, it's very nice. You were saying one more technology that is going to help to crystallize this with the faith and the different belief. So in many spiritual movements or religions, you have this concept of be, therefore it is. So like for example, when God wanted to create the earth, he said, be, and so be it, in the Bible or in the Quran. So in the Abrahamic religions, we have this concept of when God wills, things manifest. So that's easy to understand to Abrahamic religions. In the Buddhist culture and the Hindu culture, it's if you create the will, you manifest the reality. As a human, because that's how the realm is. So they essentially, both traditions are saying the same thing. They're saying that the will, the motivation or building a thought can translate into a physical reality. in both ways, from the divine to the earthly, but also from the earthly minds into the earthly world of existence. So that is not very easy to understand if you don't have knowledge and wisdom and so on, and say, what do you mean? Things cannot just appear from the will of someone. Be it a god or be it a human, I don't accept that.
Yeah.
There is no such thing that can make a will and translate it into a reality. Well, yes, you can. 3D printing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So what is 3D printing?
Do you know what? I didn't even think about it from that point of view, but you're totally right. 3D printing, to the point, actually, they're doing 3D printing as we speak with houses. They do it with houses at the moment.
Yeah, but let's just 3D print my thought.
Wow.
I think of a circle that is black and another circle that is white inside with 5 millimeter of. I am making a will that I want to have and make a small jewelry, which is just a pendant, a circle. Now I go, my will, 3D printing technology is going to allow me through 3D design software to move it from here into the computer. That's easy for us to understand because now I have an interface between the will of mankind and the reality. There is an interface called 3D designing software and the computer. Now my brain says, wait, I have a bridge to cross that gap. Now, but you don't realize you're actually transferring your will, your imagination from within yourself as a being into a machine. Now you interact with the machine to translate that shape into digital information. Now that digital information, it makes sense for me. I put it on a disk drive and I put it in my 3D printer. There is that relationship, I take it, I physically move it and I put it there, I connect it. And now the 3D printer is going to read that data, pull the plastic from the spool, and I see it, and I can make the flow from my mind to the computer software, and then to the file, and the file I put it in the machine reads the file, the machine takes the plastic, the machine moves according to the XYZ coordinates that I coded. So now I know, yes, it is possible. My will is now coming to life in that shape and in that color that I had in my mind. So what happened is that really I manifested my will into reality.
Definitely. And again for the listeners, again, this is another example. If we could go back into time and we had this technology 400 years ago, again, you would be burnt at the stake because you're a witch. This cannot happen. How is it done? Only God can do that, right? You must be the devil, you must be evil, etc. So again, it comes down to our perception and our knowledge at the time. Some people have the knowledge at the time and other people don't, and it comes down to having the knowledge and knowing the proof and etc. And Mohamed has just given another example that if you take that same technology we got right now, we couldn't fathom how is he doing this. He has to be a wizard or witch or whatever. Mohamed, thank you.
So now, do you want to know the next level of this?
I do want to know the next level.
Okay. So now, thanks to 3D printers, we're able to understand that from our will, we can manipulate molecules of our realm to make an object that was conceived in my mind. This is understandable. Am I correct?
Yes, totally.
And our will is manifesting its influence at the molecular level of things. So those molecules are PLA or ABS plastic or whatever, ceramics. It doesn't matter, but we are exerting our human will at the molecular level. Now imagine we have a nano level 3D printer that can rearrange the atoms. Now we can create new molecules that do not exist, and we can recreate any molecule with any base atom of the periodic table. So imagine I have now an atomic 3D printer that the only thing it has is the 49 or 48 atoms that we know from our human experience in the periodic table, they're all stuck there in cartridges.
Yes.
You know.
I get that.
Now I can 3D print milk, food.
That's
I
right.
can 3D print another human.
Mm-hmm.
I can 3D print whatever I want because
That's
I
right.
have all the atoms there.
Because they're building blocks. The atoms are
Building blocks are there. So now, so now, because we can understand the molecular 3D printing,
mm-hmm.
we will be able to design soon and then experiment with atomic level 3D printing. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So now we move to the next level. Yeah. So with
Mm-hmm.
atomic printing, then you can basically do whatever you want almost in the physical realm.
Yes.
And if you can atomically print something, that means you can teleport.
Yes, of course, because that's in fact basically what it is it's rearranging building blocks from one form of energy or structure, whatever way you want to believe it, to another.
So now teleporting is conceivable to the human mind thanks to 3D printing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I know I can send the 3D file or the atomic 3D file via internet, which is light speed.
Yeah.
It's teleported and now it's printed so fast. So now we can understand teleportation of non-living objects, because it's still hard for us to say I can't teleport a human because I will lose his soul.
Yeah.
I can consume his body from one side into an atomic information and then recreate his body through an atomic 3D printer by transferring the information about his body from an atomic mapping perspective.
Yeah.
But I have no way to comprehend how I'm going to transfer his soul and his mind and his personality. I don't have that reference.
Yeah.
But it is also just information. So now you have also movies that say that you can upload your mind into the internet and then download it again later on into another body. This is actually what magicians and heretics, what we call them heretics, last time they were saying with reincarnation. The pharaohs, they wanted to live forever and change body.
Yeah.
You know these stories.
Yeah.
Well, now you can think that maybe they're not that far-fetched. Because it's only a matter of time. Since now I have technology allowed me to understand that you can move matter without moving the matter, by moving information about that matter. Does it make sense?
It does.
So moving information through time and space, it's easier to comprehend for the human brain than moving this mouse itself through time and space. It's very hard to explain this. But moving the information about the mouse and then recreating the mouse somewhere else at another time and another space, and it's potentially understandable. Now the being is, if I understand that my body is a vibration, and what I call an inanimate object like a stone is also a vibration.
Yeah.
If I can transfer a stone and the stone keeps its consistency as a being,
Yeah.
because it is a vibration, and I was able to reproduce not only the atomic organization of that element, but I was able to capture the envelope, the vibrational envelope that is beyond just the atomic, physical, mechanical being of that stone. But I captured a more comprehensive form of life of that stone, and I can transfer it as information, and I can recreate the vibrational
character,
holographic
yeah,
informational system.
Yeah.
Then I can transport that living thing as well.
Yeah.
Because what is in your brain besides just little electric shocks in synapses and cells? So whatever electrical and stored information and arrangements of physical energy, vibrational and light information, once we have that technology that can really
delve in and take the information, you've gone silent. Nope.
1 2 1 2.
That's it.
One,
Got you
two.
back. Got you back
Okay,
again.
cool. So my first one went out of battery. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. Where was I cut?
Information. So you're talking about the information, the way it all came together with the information. Should actually, you know, it's been quite some time. We should start to wrap it up. You know, we can go
Yes,
on.
yes,
And
yes,
go on.
yes.
So we can.
Yes.
Okay.
So I should wrap it up. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So we was talking about the electric, you know, mind, the electricity, making sure it keeps all the character of information, which makes it possible. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. And I'll allow you to speak once I do the 1 2 3. All right. 3 2 1.
So yes. So once we are able to understand that there could be a way to capture the atomic, physical, mechanical shape of something, but also the informational and the vibrational and the energetic composition of that being, then it's easier to understand that you could transport or teleport a human being without affecting its life and recreate all of its aspects of that being. So you see, again, this is 3D printing that is putting us on the avenue of discovery of what could be possible, because we have experimented it at the molecular level. We can easily now dive into the atomic, then the vibrational, then the energy, then the light level. I hope it makes a bit of sense.
Listen, it's just one of those subjects that go on forever, but you've explained it clearly when it comes to how technology interacts with the spiritual side of it, or as we see as spiritual, put it that way. And even religion can come into it. So I'm really glad you explained it, because as I said many times before, when I first came across you talking about it, I go, huh? How does that work? So I'm glad you've explained it the way you've done, and explained it in a way that I think is quite tangible for people to take it in, for them to understand. But I can imagine we're going to be speaking about this or similar subject again, because it's one of those things, you know, how far does the whole go? It's one of those things. Is there any way that anybody can contact you if they need to speak to you further on the subject, or talking about the technology and anything like that? How would people contact you?
Yeah, sure. Maybe you can share my LinkedIn. And also, you know, I just launched my personal channel, ecomcheikh. So it's ecomcheikh.com and YouTube at ecomcheikh and the social media. So I'll be posting things there, and I'm happy to interact.
Okay.
And like you said, this is like, we're just opening a door, because for me, every technology is a bridge to spirituality, or every technology is a bridge of the spiritual realm trying to reach out to us. So it's both ways.
Definitely.
Both ways.
And what I would say is follow Mohamed, because he's got a huge amount of information that goes into this, but breaks it down into certain quarters. And if you do that, I promise you, you will not regret it. But unfortunately, we don't have the time to delve in. But on his website and on his podcast that he'll be doing, he'll be going into depth, trying to keep it as simple as possible. So please follow Mohamed, and if you look down below, you'll find all the links to be able to follow him. But yeah, definitely, I'm sure Mohamed will be coming back onto this podcast and we can talk some more. But if you want to hear certain things again, just put some comments down below. Just put down your questions, anything like that at all, and we'll get Mohamed back on, and then we'll just delve even more into the situation. But Mohamed, thank you, my man, for coming on. It's always a pleasure. Like, I could be here for another few hours, but you know, we've got to be disciplined. So we're going to just cut it off here, and just thank you for your time and coming here and explaining as best as you can between technology and spiritualism. Thank you, my man.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to express this and helping me actually to verbalize it, because it's not that easy to verbalize. But thank you very much.
It's not, but it's worth trying to, that's for sure. Okay, so everybody, that's it, and sayonara.
Sayonara. Thank you.